Okay, dear students, today's lecture will be speaking about the directives or commands. So, directives commands represent the sentence type that is normally associated with the imperative mode. So, for example, when we examine commands such as go away or be quiet, we are struck by the fact that there is no obvious or overt subject-noun phrase. Okay, so it is intuitively clear that the meaning of a directive implies that the omitted subject is the second person pronoun you. The implication can be demonstrated by the first occurrence of you as subject of a following tagged question, like for example when we say, be quiet, will you? Occurrence, and second, this is second, occurrence of only yourself or yourselves as the reflexive pronouns object in sentences like behave yourself or behave yourselves. So of course we can never say behave myself. This is considered, absolutely wrong. Occurrence of, this is number three, occurrence of only the emphatic possessive your own. So for example, we say use your own comb, not use her own comb, etc., etc. Now, the clause patterns for the commands in the English sentence, in the English imperative sentence, can be represented by the following, patterns. First, we can have only a verb like we say wait, stop, jump, and the like. Or we can have also, this is number two, we can also have a verb plus a complement. So like when we say be quiet, be ready. Okay, and we can have number three, verb, object, and complement. Consider yourself a traitor. And number four, verb, object, and an adverbial. So like when we say put the flowers on the table. And number five, we can have a verb plus an object. So like we say open the door, shut your mouth, and the like. And we can have also number six, verb and adverbial like get inside, go upstairs, okay, go downstairs. And finally, we have a verb, object, and object. So like when we say tell me the truth. Now, one may ask, can we have verbless commands? Of course. The answer is of course yes, we can have verbless commands. So adverbials may have the illocutionary force of commands. Generally, a verb of motion is implied. So sometimes we use the adverbial to give a command, to instruct somebody to do something, to instruct people to do things. Okay, of course now the verb that is implied here is a verb of motion, verb of motion like, move, go, and the like. So for example, we say forward, okay, so the implication is for a verb like, move forward or march forward, okay, faster, okay, the implication for the verb here is run faster, okay, or come faster. Say adverbials like light, left, right, inside, hands up, eyes down, okay, and the like as you see on the screen. Now, lack and restriction. The imperative verb lacks tense distinction and does not allow modal auxiliaries. So the progressive form is rare, the progressive aspect is rare, and the perfective aspect is even rarer. So like we can have sentences, imperative sentences in the progressive tense, like for example when we say be listening to this station the same time tomorrow night, or be doing your homework when your parents arrive. And the example of the perfective aspect, like when you say start the book and have finished it before you go to bed. So as you see, have finished it. So it is used, however its use is rather rare in the English language. That's why we say that the imperative lacks tense distinction and it does not allow modal auxiliary auxiliaries, and also the aspects, the progressive and the perfective aspects are rare. We said also that it is also, severely restricted to passive, to voice. So which means that mostly the voice of the imperative sentence is the active voice. However, we do have the passive in the, imperative mode. So we can have passive with the verbs to be. So the verbs to be occur, chiefly in negative directives, where they generally have the meaning do not allow yourself to be. So for example, we say, don't be deceived by his looks. So it means that, okay, don't allow yourself to be deceived by his looks. Don't be made to look foolish. Don't allow yourself to be, to look foolish. And don't be bullied into singing, and don't be told what to do. They are less common in positive, directives. Of course, now the be passive is, very, infrequent, if we can say, in the positive directives. However, we can provide examples about that. So like when we say, be guided by what I say, and be reassured by me. So what might be treated as passives occur with other verbs, like the verb get. So we can have examples like get washed, get transferred, get none, get addressed, get weighed, get introduced, and the negative one, do not get misled by their promises. We can say also get lost, like I say, it means go away. This is very informal in English language. Do not get addressed yet. Imperatives are also restricted to predications that allow a dynamic interpretation. So we don't expect, imperatives that have, that allow a dynamic interpretation. So for example, we cannot say need a car, be old, or sound louder. These imperative sentences, okay, are incorrect in the English language. Okay. Many predications that are stated with the respect to disallowing the progressive are easily available with a dynamic interpretation. So for imperatives, so for example, we say forgive us, love your enemies, owe nobody anything, yearly be glad that you escaped without injury, do not be a stranger, be a pilot, and know the poem by heart by the next lesson. So these examples, although they include stated verbs, but they allow what? They allow a dynamic interpretation for the infinitive. Imperatives refer to a situation in the immediate or more remote future, and are therefore incompatible with time adverbials that refer to a time period in the past or that have habitual references. So for example, we can never use an adverbial that refer to the past with the imperative, because what? Because it lacks what? It lacks the compatibility with what? With any event that refers to the past. So it is wrong to say, it is incorrect to say come yesterday, okay, because the adverbial of time yesterday is incompatible with the what? With the verb come, which refers to the what? Which refers to the immediate future. So it can never refer to the past. Again, this also applies to adverbials that refer to habitual, that have habitual reference, like when you say usually drive your car. This is also incorrect, because the adverbial usually what refers to a habitual reference, so it is incompatible with the imperative verb drive, which refers to the immediate future. Now we know that commands are mostly used without subjects. However, we have a type of directive in which the stressed subject you is added. So you may be non-contrastive with with admonitory and express strong irritation. So for example, when you provide the imperative with the second person pronoun, this implies what? That you are strongly irritated, or you are strongly annoyed by somebody's action. So for example, you say you keep your mouth shut. It means what? You are expressing your strong irritation or annoyance because that person was talkative, so that now you are what? You are warning him, and you are giving him the instruction to keep his mouth shut. So with you are expressing your strong irritation. You be quiet, you do your job silently. However, there is also a type of directive with the third person subject. So for example, you say parents with children go to the front. So now the subject here for the imperative, you have parents with children. It is absolutely the third person. Okay, men in the front row take one step forward. So the subject here, men in the front row, and nobody moved. Also the subject here is the indefinite pronoun nobody. So it could be with the command could be with the second person pronoun you, and it could be with also the third person subject. First person imperatives can be informed by proposing the verb let followed by a subject in the objective case. So we can have the commands with the verb let. Of course, now it should be always followed by a subject in the objective case. So like when you say, let us vote for the fittest, let them confess their guilt, let me think what to do next. So as you see in the first example, the pronoun us, the objective pronoun us, is used after the verb let. In the second example, the pronoun them in the objective case is used after let, and the last one we have the pronoun me, which is used after let. So the same applies to third person subjects. So of course now we can have what? Let followed by third person subject, okay, whether it is definite or indefinite. So like for example, we say let no one speak badly about him. So now no one here, it is third person, but however it is indefinite, so we can never tell who no one applies to whom. Okay, of course it applies to a third party. Okay, let each man decide for himself. Okay, and if anyone shrinks from this action, let him speak now. Negative commands, of course, to negate second and third person imperatives, one simply adds an initial don't, replacing of course, and the second step is to replace the assertive by non-assertive forms as well. So for example, in a workplace, for safety matters, you ask your employee, do not wear loose clothes. Okay, do not work without gloves. Do not take off your helmet. Let's not say anything about it. Do not let me disturb you. Persuasive commands. Sometimes we use the command to persuade people to do things. So we can make a positive imperative more persuasive by insisting by adding do before the verb. So do, he works as a reinforcer. So it reinforces the positive sense of the imperative. So like when we say, do have another piece of cake, do let's go to the movies, do be seated, and the like. Mitigated commands. Commands are apt to sound abrupt unless toned down by markers of politeness such as a please. So sometimes if you want to seem more polite and you instruct people to do things, so you can use what? Politeness marker to tone down your instruction or direction, so that the people will listen to you carefully and will do what you want them to do. So for example, you say, please show me your hands. So again, here we have what, please, this is the politeness marker. Oh, go ahead, please. This is the politeness marker, please. Another way to mitigate the force of the imperative is by changing the structure into a statement or a question. Okay, so for example, when you want also to look more polite, you have to change the structure of the imperative into what, a statement, or into what, a question. So for example, you say, will you convince them to come? So no, the original imperative, he convinced them to come, but you want to look more friendly and more polite, so you change the structure of the imperative by saying, will you convince them to come? And again, I wonder if you would kindly answer my question. The original imperative, answer my question, but you wanted to sound more more polite, so you say, I wonder if you would kindly answer my question. Okay, thank you. That's all for today. I hope that you enjoyed the